Hey everyone, good Wednesday evening. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, episode 81. Yeah, this is a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. I guess, go on a limb here and say it's the best bowling show based in Altoona, Wisconsin. And if you can prove that there's a better bowling show based in Altoona, Wisconsin, I'll give you your money back. So, don't think that that we're not standing behind our brand here. But thanks for joining us, everyone. An exciting week in bowling. Exciting because we've had two shows in the same week now, and I'll explain that a little bit as we go. But also because we've got some high-level competition going on this week. If you didn't see last night, Erin McCarthy taking the 2022 PWBA US Women's Open. She's the champ. She ran the letter to do it. It's her first major, and I believe third title overall. So congratulations to her. It was a great performance. If you didn't get to see it, hopefully they'll have a replay on the CBS Sports Network, or I believe USBC typically gets at least some highlights online from that. But it was a terrific show, and congratulations to her. And a gentleman named Brian Deck, who shot 900 earlier this week on Monday night at a house in Newcastle, Indiana. Now, this is a series that is pending USBC certification. And right before we came on, I got an email back from Aaron Smith at USBC because I wanted to know if they had made a decision on the certification of that series. He says the pending formal approval really just means that they're waiting for the paperwork to be turned in by the league secretary there in Indiana to complete the process. As long as the bowler, the center, and league and tournament are all official and certified, we are good to go. So they're doing that right now. But congratulations to Brian, 900 series. If certified, it would be the 40th certified 900 series in USBC history. So a fantastic accomplishment for him. And we'll wait and see what USBC comes back with. Well, Bowling with the Fef is sponsored by a company called Chip Magnet in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. If you've watched the show before, you know that Chip Magnet is a huge supporter of our show and bowling really in our local area. Chip Magnet is a family business. They distribute salsa and much more to 38 states and Canada. And if you're in the Milwaukee area, there are lots of places to get it. You can go to Woodman's, Festival, Sendik's, Pick and Save, Metro Market, Outpost, some Piggly Wiggly locations, and Metcalf's and Wauwatosa. If you don't have it in a grocery store near you, you can find it online. ChipMagnetSalsa.com is the address. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. Another thing that I have mentioned time and time again on this show is that I'm a proud graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And if memory serves, I don't believe we've had a UWM bowler on the show until now. So put your hands together for Chris Cobus, who joins us from the Milwaukee area. And he is a UWM guy. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me about your time at UWM, because we were talking before and you uttered the phrase about a guy who, that he did not make the team. And when I was there, there were a few of us, so that didn't really happen. But you had a great competitive team there.
Yeah. In fact, after several years, our whole starting team, which was Brett Faulkner, John Witkowski, Bob Greenfield, and Jeff Henry, and myself, we all won national titles. So we Bob Codell, who was one of my good friends too, we used to have a little too much fun, especially with going to UW-Madison or UW Oshkosh, 8, 9 in the morning, all they wanted to do was drink. So
Mhm.
it was we had a great team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it was fun.
I would be lying if I told you we didn't have much fun when I was in it. But no, it's a fantastic school, and I was glad to compete for them, and really glad to hear that you did as well. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on on the state of scoring in bowling. We have this 900 series. We were talking before, bowling really isn't the same game now as it was when you were coming up in it. What are your thoughts there?
I think the scoring is out of control.
Okay.
Glenn Allison's 900 series, I don't think it's been certified.
No.
I mean, he used the Yellow Dot, which has a 3-ounce top weight in it. I used the same ball when John Megna and myself won doubles at ABC. And I'm in several bowling groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think the scoring's out of control with the 7-pound weight block in the middle of the ball. And then there was a kid, I was in a group about 2 weeks ago, we were talking about it. And that now they have 9 pounds as a weight block in the middle of the ball. Back in the day, you had to properly roll the ball and release it. Now you can just throw it. And once it goes into a roll, the strike percentage is way up because of the weight block in the middle. That's,
Sure.
It is what it is. I know they want scores, but I think it's out of control.
Yeah. Let's say, just in a hypothetical sense, you had the power to do something about it. What would you do? Would you change the oil? Would you change the pins? Would you change the lane?
Well, they understand they have to sell bowling balls. It's an industry, and they want to make money. I think if they went to a more oil and a flatter shot, maybe you could control the scoring somewhat. I mean, I watched the pros on TV, and first time I saw Belmonte bowl, first he walked in a U to the foul line, and he was playing between 5th and 6th arrow, and he was throwing it to first arrow. And I'm going, wait a minute here. And the ball would hook like crazy. I just think the scoring, this condition needs to be a little tougher if you're going to leave that 7-pound weight block in the middle of the ball.
Sure.
Make it a little more legitimate. There's just the scoring is out of control. I mean, I'm in a lot of groups again, and I had 879 last week in league. I should have had 900. Well, you didn't, so that's my opinion.
Yeah,
it was a lot harder back in the day. I used to practice just about every day because I just want to be consistent. I didn't have as much power. I just wanted to make a better shot every time. Sure. And with the new balls, I see so many kids just throw. And back in the day, you couldn't throw the ball 18, 20 miles an hour. They wouldn't hook. Yep. All they do now.
Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of go back to the beginning from where it all started with you, and how you got into bowling in the first place. How did it happen?
I don't know exactly why I started. I think some of my friends, I was 12 years old and I started bowling at Red Carpet Bolero in Wauwatosa. And I remember having to walk to bowling on Saturdays every once in a while. Now, fast forward, in high school, I ran track. I played basketball. I just, for some reason, went back to bowling because I thought I could be a lot more competitive because it was an individual sport. I played football in high school too. And when it was practicing one day, I was playing safety because I used to be pretty fast. Now I'm a lot slower. But yeah, I was playing safety in practice. And one of the receivers wanted a down and out, and the cornerback, he just ran right by him. And I'm like, oh boy. So I took off trying to catch him, and I did catch him. But when I went to tackle him, I caught him by the shoulder pads. And when he landed, I thought I broke both of my hands. They were just black and blue. And after about a month, I told the coach, I said, I don't want to play football anymore. So I started bowling a lot more, and I just enjoyed it because it was more an individual sport, and you had to practice to not make mistakes. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So back then, I mean, humor me. Tell me about where your home house was, or maybe the place that you went to the most, because Milwaukee has a proud history of bowling, and a lot of great centers there just aren't there anymore.
Yeah. Well, I started at Red Carpet Bolero,
Okay.
and then I got asked to bowl after I won all events in 1978. Don Ciardo asked me to bowl in the Metro League at Blue Mountain Bowl. And that's where I got to bowl with John Megna, Mike Strani, Don Ciardo, and what was the other guys? The older gentleman. He ran the tournament for a while. Anyway, yeah, and I got to bowl in that league for several years, and eventually John and I bowled doubles, and we ended up winning doubles in '84. Yeah. So it was fun.
Did as you're getting into the sport, and you mentioned high school, kind of getting back into it from football, were there any coaches, were there any youth programs around that you kind of gravitated to?
Not really. I had Jim Colburn. Okay. His dad was one of my coaches when I was a little kid at Red Carpet Bolero, and he helped me quite a bit. Then a lot of times I just practiced on my own and made sure I was consistent what I did.
Yeah. Was it a deal where you looked up to anybody either in town, locally, in the professional ranks, anything like that, to kind of not only because of your interest but also to improve your own game?
Well, it was an honor to be asked to bowl in the Metro League by Don Ciardo, and I got to bowl with some of the biggest names in the city at the time: John Megna, Mike Strani, Dennis Yuchter. Yeah, that was fun because it was very challenging.
Mark Wilkerman.
Yeah, Mark Wilkerman too. I mean, that was a fun league because it was very challenging.
Yeah. Was it pretty intense there? I mean, I know some of these guys, but kind of give us a feel for what it was like in that league to exist. Was it high competition and high, pressure, or did everybody just kind of do their own thing?
Well, it was very challenging, but most of the guys were very respectful for everybody in the league, and it was just good competition. I mean, we never had any problems, and it was an accomplishment. We won the league twice, I believe. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. It was very challenging, but everyone was very respectful to everybody else. There was never any problems in the league. Just very good competition.
Sure.
Some big scores. I think we shot 3,600 back to back in the league, and people would come up and said, "Oh, they walled the lanes for you guys." I'm like, no. Yeah. Which was a big score back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Sure. Yeah. Is there a point where you decide, okay, I'm doing well in a competitive setting here in this Metro League, I'm going to kind of branch out and start doing tournaments, or is that something that you were already doing when you were younger?
Well, there were quite a few more tournaments around. In fact, in 1982, Bruce Torbeck and myself, we won state match doubles, which was a very grueling tournament. Then the next year we came back and we made it all the way to the finals, but for some reason, it was at Red Carpet Bolero the year we won. Then they moved it to Red Carpet North, and we swept the two teams we bowled on Saturday. So we came back, we were in the top 8, and they forgot to oil the lanes. So we ended up losing. The day before, Bruce averaged 239 for the 8 games we bowled, or 9 games we bowled. It was a best of 7, and I averaged 230 something. But it was really upsetting to us that we came out through shadow balls. We lost to 2 pros from Madison, Leidick and the other guy was a left-hander, and it was very upsetting. Yeah. That they ran the oil machine, but we found out there was no oil in the oil machine.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah. But I was going to say Bruce actually came on the show a few weeks ago.
Correct.
And Greeny had told me, Bob Greenfield, that you two were just a tremendous doubles team. And I want you to listen to what Bruce had to say when I brought that up. Take a listen here.
Well, 82 and 83 were probably our best years. And as I'm looking at some of the articles of, I don't know if you can see how Chris Cobus looks.
Oh, there you go.
But he doesn't look like that anymore. But I mean, that was when we won state match doubles, and it was, that we bowled money too. We would travel all over the place and go to these little gin mills, and we didn't bowl for a lot of money, $5 a game or sometimes $1 a game, 2 on series. But it was fun to get out and practice. That's how we practiced or whatever.
So you guys are essentially bowling action to get better in these tournament settings. Is that
Yes.
Is that how you came together as a doubles team?
That's part of it, yeah. Funny thing is, I think you know who Gus Yanneris is. He's won a few times in nationals. We used to bowl Gus and Jimmy Yanneris, and they could not beat Bruce and myself. They'd call us up on a Saturday, and we'd say, sure, where do you want to bowl? You guys pick. Can't beat us. It was, and until Gus went on tour, and he became a really good bowler. But Jimmy was always a player too. So that was part of the fun. Again, go bowl pot games. We used to bowl pot. Here's a story for you. So fast forward, 1981, Bruce called me. It was a Friday. He goes, hey, let's bowl pot games. I said, sure. We were both off of work for some reason. And so I go, and it was one of the Canester boys, Rich Torrey, Bruce Torbeck, myself, and a couple other guys. We're bowling pot games all day. Started about noon or 1 o'clock. So we're bowling. And we get done because they had leagues coming in. So several of the managers were there, and we're all shaking dice for drinks. Mm-hmm. And this blonde walks in. And she says, hey, she knew Rich Torrey and Bruce and a couple of the managers that were there. She asked to play dice with us. We said, sure. So there were like 8 of us playing dice. Well, she lost the first 3 rounds in a row. She had to cash 2 checks. So Rich Torrey, I said, hey, Rich, because she came over and said hi to Rich Torrey. And I said, Rich, who's the blonde? He goes, you don't want to know. I said, yes, I do. So several minutes later, I come out of the men's room, and Rich grabs me. He goes, Chris, Laurel, Chris, and walks away.
Just like that.
So that's my wife, and she's a sweetheart.
That's
awesome. We met at Silverbird. Yeah,
that's a great story. Yeah, and thanks to her, because I know she helped you get set up, with the tech gear to get on the show and all that.
Yep. So I'm sure I'll pay for that.
Well, no, you got to tell him that I was a 130 average bowler, and you got me up to 198.
Okay, we got a couple minutes. Yeah. Whoops. One of our first dates was I was going to give her lessons. Mm-hmm. So we come in, and I said, well, I want you to try to play first arrow. She goes, I can't do that. I said, what was the rule? I said, you can't say no. She says, well, I can't do that. So I started to put my stuff away. She goes, where are you going? I said, I'm going in the bar. So, yeah, she was the Allen Iverson type where she never wanted to practice. But she ended up to 197, 198, and she won 2 state titles and the city title.
Wow.
So
that's
she enjoyed it for a while too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years before that, you won your first Eagle. I believe St. Louis, Missouri.
Yep.
You were the all events champ. 646, 663, 685 for 1994. And this is one of the first times that you were at the national tournament, right?
It's my second year. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was strange that and so many of the guys that I knew said, oh, you're not going to win. Somebody's going to beat you. So because I bowled in February that year. So the tournament had a long time to run yet. And so I'd look in the newspaper and just check the scores every week. And I did end up winning, and nobody really beat me. When I took the lead, I think second place was 1963, and I had shot 1994.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. You don't realize it with the ABC because you bowl and you have time to wait. Now, fast forward in '84, when we took over the lead. First of all, I didn't know it was Mark Kulich and Ron Wheeler, who wouldn't talk to me after that at all. We only had about less than 4 weeks, and we won. So a little different.
Yeah. What were you throwing in '78 when you won the all events?
LT-48, all 9 games. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a really good ball.
Yeah. And as you're making your way through, I mean, what does that feel like? Because that's a set even today that a lot of people aren't going to get a number like that. So it must have felt pretty special along the way to know, hey, I've at least got a shot here, right?
Right. Well, that was the weird part. I hadn't really looked at the scores at all, and I knew I shot 646 and 663 with John Eichelberger in doubles, and about the end of the second game of singles, I went, wait a minute, I have 109 and I had like 220 something. I said, well, I said to one of the guys, what's leading all events? And he said 1963. I said, well, I need 200 to tie it. And I already was in the third game, and I knew I could have struck out for 240 something, and I would have had over 2,000, and I left a solid 7. So, but I made it, and I still ended up winning. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Who was on your team that year?
John Eichelberger. I can't remember the 2 older gentlemen. I bowled at Strakota's in a league on Thursdays, and it was just a fill-in league, and I knew John from UWM. So he said, yeah, we need a guy. I said, sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you wait. You don't get all the information that we get today over the internet.
Correct.
So, it's kind of catch as catch can. How do you end up finding out that you won?
I think I read it in the paper after the tournament was over. Or maybe one of the guys that I bowl with might have called me and said I won. Oh, in fact, I might have been Bob Codell called me and said, hey, you won? I was like, no, I didn't know it was over. So, and I probably got drunk after that.
That's still pretty special nonetheless. And I'm assuming that word kind of gets around in the bowling community about something like that, no?
Yeah, I don't really remember if it did. What? Tell him.
Kyle says, tell him to talk about his son.
My son, we have twins, and my one son likes bowling, but
and has natural talent.
He could be good, but he doesn't. He's concerned more about his family. They just had a baby, and
congratulations.
So, yeah.
Well, that's
the average is 200.
And 200 is nothing nowadays. I mean, no, but I mean, compared to the scores, we talked about scores being too high. The one year I averaged 235 with the Burgundy Hammer, and I thought I was doing good. Then several years later, one of the kids I knew, he bowled out in Milwaukee or something, and I said, what are you averaging? He goes 260. I'm going, okay, this is getting stupid.
For sure.
Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah, Kyle could have talent, but he refuses to practice, like my wife.
But he does have natural talent.
Yes, but he still have to practice, honey.
And he's got priorities. I mean,
yes,
got to respect that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, we talked about 1984 a little bit, and your doubles partner is John Megna, who's come on the show before. How do you two end up getting together? Not only in bowling, but also for that nationals tournament.
Well, we bowled together on Tuesday nights in the Metro at Blue Mound.
Okay.
And I don't know who set it up. We were crossing I bowled because I was part of that team. They just set up that we were bowling doubles together. And it was crazy.
Just happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know exactly who set us up together. I mean, because
Gary Odekirk.
Oh, Gary Odekirk did. And my buddy Bruce was there when it happened too. So it was a long night after that.
So he did send a picture from back then. So we've got a little
Yep.
reference point here. But I asked him, how you got together, and he didn't remember. But what he did remember, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, is that the morning of doubles and singles, he got a call from your wife that she dropped a bowling ball on your foot.
No, she dropped her knee on my foot.
He said, you didn't know if you could even
But
bowl.
it kept you slow at the line.
And then you go out and shoot 743. He said it was a clinic. You bowled great, and he was just trying to hang on to the reins and kind of ride you to the finish.
Hey, I had a 250 game the first game, and John had a couple small 200s or 190s. And the last game, we just looked at each other and said, hey, let's not throw our 50 pins away. We were both kind of lined up, but you still got to carry. And first frame, I left a 10 pin. John got a strike. I got a strike. He ended up with the first 6, and I had a spare in first 5. I continued. I went off the sheet for 289, left the 10 pin in, and I got up in the 10th frame, and I hadn't moved in like a game and a half, and I got up in the 10th frame. I'm like, well, if I get a double, John doesn't need a mark, and we take over the lead. And I thought, nah, I can't move. I don't want to leave something goofy because they're on plastic lanes. And I stayed where I was, and I got a hair slow, and I tripped the 4-pin off the wall. And then the next one, I moved the board, and it was cold solid, so I went ahead and a 10 pin for 289. So John didn't even need a mark. And he got up, he got a strike, and left a 10 pin and shot 246. And we took the lead. But the weird part was, two people from Milwaukee, which wouldn't talk to us. Mark Kuglis was cool about it, but Ron Wheeler wouldn't speak to us.
Megna told me that he remembers you saying, let's just have fun. And you sure did. He said when he came off the approach at the end that you picked him up a foot off the ground.
He picked me up.
Yeah, he did. Swinging around.
He picked me up. I was a little skinnier back then, so it wasn't as hard.
Yeah.
So it was nuts.
Yeah.
You don't expect that to happen, especially with a broken toe, not foot, but.
I mean, were you in pain or what?
Oh yeah, it hurt. But like I said, we had gone to the hospital. They gave me some, some Percocet. They said, well, we can only give you 6 of these. I'm like, okay, fine. So we were going up to Ponderosa Ranch. I took 2 of them right away, and it helped. And then the next morning I got up and took 2 more before we were bowling. And it worked.
No doubt.
So,
yeah. There have not been many people that have won an eagle, let alone 2. How special is that to you when you look at, the scope of your career in bowling?
It's crazy. The only bad part is a lot of people in Milwaukee and the Kenosha, Racine area. There's a lot of guys who've won multiple ones. Gus Inaris, he and I used to be tied with 2. Well, now he's got 4. Gary Dereshevsky has 6 eagles. And these are guys who I used to have to bowl against in the leagues. So we have pretty good guys in this city. Most of them are just really nice people. And they don't, they're very personable. They don't, they don't just try to stick their nose up in the air. They're very personable people. They're fun to be around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy.
It's a fantastic bowling community. After that, I mean, did you keep going back to nationals? Yeah,
I had I'm trying to remember 37 continuous years, and unfortunately, I had a heart attack in 2014, and I didn't go until this year, which was kind of stupid. I got asked at the last minute. I figured, sure, I'll go, but I bowl once every 3 weeks now. I don't bowl every week. I don't practice. But it was fun to go because they announce you and stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, it is putting a little thing in my head that maybe I should go and try to get 40 years, but I need to practice more.
Yeah.
Because the scores, the players are much more, better, and the scores are always a lot higher. At least that leaving it in Vegas, they have been.
Sure. Yeah. Oh.
What?
You're in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I'm in the Milwaukee Hall of Fame.
I know you are.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying. I want to get into the State Hall of Fame, so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Milwaukee Hall of Fame. I believe it was 2006. What was that like to find out and to be at that dinner and being recognized like
it was a great honor because of all the people and all the guys that I've known and bowled against are already in that. I mean, it has a very good history for 80 years or something like that. I mean, and one of my best friends, we got to go in together. That was Jeff Selleck, and it was Jeff and I and Greg Gomez he was in for Merritt. Yeah, but so it's a great piece. Guys that I've bowled with in just about every tournament, and most of them are great players, and it's fun. It's fun to go see the guys.
Yeah. How you mentioned you don't bowl quite as much now as you did back then, but how much do you bowl these days?
Well, I don't practice anymore, which is not good. After I had my heart attack, I just didn't seem to have the impetus to go out and bowl. I got back into league, but I don't want to bowl every week. Just a couple, just to be with the guys. It's more sitting, talking BSing with boys. Yeah, we have fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to me that you kind of start out, at least in a competitive sense, at Blue Mound at the Metro, and Blue Mound is still around, with a great center, great history. Hank has been on the show too.
Yep.
I guess, how about the fact that center is family owned, has been family owned the whole time, is still family owned in this, in this different era of bowling where a lot of the centers are being taken over by larger corporations. That one has maintained.
Well, they do a great job. In fact, Don Bartz was one of the owners. He won, what was the name of that tournament in Chicago? He won the Peterson. He won the Peterson to get up the money to buy Blue Mound. And there's a story about him. I found out when I was little, my parents used to have parties, and all the adults would have a party in the basement, and they all smoked. And I hated cigarette smoke. So I'm bowling one Friday night at Blue Mound, because I bowled there Tuesdays and Fridays. And we're at the bar, and Don Bartz goes, "Hey, you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah, you own the place." He goes, "No, I know where you live." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "I used to be one of the people who would be in your basement and smoking." And I'm like, "Oh, now I know why I don't like you."
Yeah, it's funny how things come full circle like that, though.
They just do a fantastic job. The place is always clean. It's great service. It's really run well. And now they bought the other one out in New Berlin. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So
the former Kugliches?
Yeah.
No, it's a fantastic community, as I keep saying, but that's kind of where I grew up. On the other hand, a lot of the centers that I grew up around, Port Lanes in Fox Point, Regatta 2 in Thiensville, Mequon Park Lanes, they're all gone.
They are? No, yeah.
When you see news of centers closing, and it still happens now, but what thoughts do you have about kind of the state of our game and what we need to do to keep it around for the next generation?
Well, I don't think it's so much the bowling, but with the laws being stricter for DWIs, people Here's my rule about bowling. When you bowl bad, you need to drown your sorrows. When you bowl good, you get to celebrate. So both times you end up in the bar.
Right.
But now you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And a lot of I'm just trying to think. Most of the some of the leagues that were like second, third shift have gone away because a lot of the companies don't have people working those shifts anymore. So I think that's part of it too. And the price of everything has gone up. Not so much it's actually for bowling, it's not that bad, but people just can't afford it.
Yeah, for sure. No. Where do you see yourself kind of going with the sport in the next year, 5 years? I mean, do you start practicing up again and go back to nationals, or is this just a deal where it's just kind of a fun thing now and that's how it is?
Well, after the way I bowled so bad, I need to go back and try to get better than the way I bowled this year, because I know I can, but it entails just going out and practicing, and actually the funny part is my wife and I, we both love golf because she used to bowl a lot too back in the day. We just don't find it. A lot of the people are, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, honey?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, arrogant maybe is a good word. No, it's not as much fun.
God, tell them about the time I beat you in all events at USBC in Reno.
Yeah, tell us about
Yes,
that.
I don't remember what happened. It's all a blur.
So as I told you before, we do a segment on the show called Off the Sheet. And to go off the sheet, we ask you to challenge somebody else to be on a future episode. And it doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world. We look for people who are passionate about the sport and have a unique story to tell like we all do. So, Chris Cobus, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling?
I got so many. Did Joe Natoli come on the show yet?
He has been on.
Okay.
Gary Odeker.
Hank Posnanski, I got to do it.
He's been on.
Oh, yes. Okay. You took all my good names.
We're 80 episodes in. I mean,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
But you mentioned before we went on about Joe Serrar.
Yes, Joey would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come? What should we know about Joe?
Just a super nice guy, hard worker. He explains everything that if you have any questions, he'll answer your questions. Just a very good proprietor. I've known him for, 50 years, 40 years. Yeah, he just closed the shop too. So I think you would enjoy giving his perspective from all these years of running it. And Joey was a good bowler too, but he spent more of his time at the business.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't remember the year, but his team, they shot 3465 and they didn't win the team event.
Oh, wow.
Somebody shot 3,500. So
that's pretty big.
Yeah. And that's back in the days when the scores never got that high. So I think for numerous years, 3465 would have won.
Yeah.
So
I believe it. All right.
So there's some luck involved,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. So. Well, Joe, if you're watching and you're interested in taking Chris up on his challenge, please reach out. You can find me on Facebook. My name's Andrew Pfeffer, or you can email the show at bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com. And I agree. I'd love to have him on. He drilled a couple bowling balls for me back in the day. So, he's definitely been at it and doing a great job for many years. This is, as I mentioned earlier, our second show this week because I'm actually not going to have a show next week. So there will be 1 week off. But after that, we are going to have Gordon Vatican coming on Wednesday, July 6th. He was the longtime coach at Wichita State University, led the Shocker men and women to a combined 18 intercollegiate team championships. He's a two-time Team USA member, USBC Hall of Famer. He's also got 2 Eagles. So again, 6 p.m. Central Wednesday, July 6th. That episode would be. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It was a pleasure. It was fun.
Sounds good. All right.
Got to get a picture of my wife and everybody will know.
Can we
I
get
don't
her?
want to get in there.
Oh, come on.
You
2
guys wanna get in?
seconds.
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. Awesome.
Thank you, Andrew. It was fun.
Thank you. Well, we will end on that. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be just and fear not. We will see you again on Wednesday the 6th.
Thank you.